Hello and welcome to the WOW, Connecting and Empowering Women Through Sports, brought to you by our wonderful partners, Fresh Fine Wine. I'm Jade Kenny, and joining me as always are my beautiful co-hosts, Stephanie Jojokian and GeNienne Samuels. Hello, ladies.
Hey, Jade.
Coming up in segment 2, we chat with a WOW woman, Romonda Jordan, the co-founder of Off the Field Players' Wife Association, a devoted philanthropist and a mother of 3. She also happens to be the wife of Washington football's running backs coach, Brandy Jordan. Be sure to stick around for that. But before we discuss the Browns game, we need to celebrate what a remarkable moment Sunday was in the NFL and for women.
Absolutely. 2 female coaches and a female official making NFL history, being on the field at the same time. Callie Bronson, the chief of staff for the Browns coach, Jennifer King, our own Jennifer King, the NFL's first Black female full-year coaching intern, and Sarah Thomas, first full-time referee in the league. In the words of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, real change, enduring change happens one step at a time. What do you guys think about that?
Yes, love that. I mean, that quote, right? One step at a time and one woman at a time. It was a true inspiration. Like as we're watching the game, pregame, to see the picture of them together. And then for that picture to basically be all over social media. And they really just said that they want to make an impact on other women. And Callie mentioned that she wants to send the elevator back down to all girls that are watching the game. And that is something that we're always saying here within our WOW community, the importance of sending that elevator back down and helping someone else. So absolutely inspiring and so wonderful to see.
I also love seeing, I believe it was Sarah Thomas's daughter. She was in a referee outfit on social media. And I just love seeing that because that truly is showing the impact that that moment had and that we can all have for the future generation of women. Let's talk about this game. The Washington football team lost their second straight game, 34-20. And I think what hurts the most about this is it was a winnable game. Yeah. This week, we're going to call out the wow and the whoa moments of the game. Let's start with the bad, GeNienne. What was your whoa moment?
Yeah, so my whoa moment, other than the loss, obviously, is first just the loss on Sunday put us under 500 for the season. But the franchise now has more all-time losses than wins for the first time since 1975. So that is 45 years. And the main reason for that, for this particular game, were the turnovers. We had 5 total turnovers, 3 of them in the first half alone. And overall, the turnovers resulted in 24 points for the opposing team, for the Browns, not for us. And so 21 of them came from the 3 interceptions. And there's a stat out there that says if you have 2 turnovers, there's an 80% chance you're going to lose the game. And we had 5. So that really hurt us.
Yeah, the stats don't lie, although we are still first, ladies.
And also what hurt us are the injuries. That is definitely the woe for me as we go into week 4. Defensive tackle Matt Ioannidis suffered a torn bicep and is out the rest of the season. He's become such a valuable part of a defensive front rotation that is stacked and populated by first rounders. That one's going to hurt us. Also, my heart sank when I saw Chase Young limping into the locker room. He suffered a groin injury that fortunately appears not to be too serious. Or keep an eye on him this week to make sure that he is ready for the Baltimore, because we're definitely going to need him. And also, Dontrell Inman has such a great game. He had 38 receiving yards to go along with his 2 touchdowns. And I just hated to see him holding his wrist in the 4th quarter. But luckily, he received negative x-ray results. So all in all, these injuries are a woe for me, mostly because I'm just afraid of the impact they could have if these injuries linger.
Yeah, it was a game changer for us in the 2nd quarter when both Chase Young and Matt Ioannidis left the field for injuries and never returned. So, wow. No, we're back on woe still. Sorry, I was trying to get ahead to the wows. I have a woe, unfortunately, and that is Coach Rivera not calling timeouts. I know this is controversial, but this is the 2nd game where he didn't call timeouts at the end of the game to extend and maybe stay in the game. Rivera says in several interviews he doesn't want to get players injured and that due to the lack of preseason and a young team, we are what we are. But my thoughts are we need the practice as well as the time on the clock. For example, the last game, we had a great drive. Haskins had one 3rd quarter, went down the field, got a touchdown. I know that built his confidence as well as the team's. So, I think that if we can call these timeouts, it'll give us that time and it'll be another lesson for this young team.
I'm going to go on the defense and defend my coach. And I totally understand what Coach Rivera is saying. You know, he's boots on the ground. You have to trust the process. And I've heard that for a decade at Alabama from Nick Saban is you have to trust what he is doing. And he is going to do what he sees best for his young players. Unfortunately, as frustrating as it can appear. Let's talk about the wow. Let's talk about the good moments of the game. For me, it was Montez Sweat. I think Coach Rivera said it best. He proved he's a force to be reckoned with. He reminded me and all of us why Washington traded up for him in the first round in the 2019 draft. He finished the game with 4 tackles and 4 quarterback hits. Expectations have been so high for Jack Del Rio in this defense, and he delivered. He was a fun one for me to watch.
Yeah, we have 13 sacks through the first 3 weeks. We entered Sunday's game with the most sacks in the league, so that's a definite wow.
Yeah, and I agree. And that kind of leads me to my wow. You know, our defense did have a good start. They normally do, but we also got our offense on board. So we've been asking them to start fast and to start early, and we got on the board first. We had a 17-yard touchdown pass early in the game, and I really feel like we are a team that can start fast and start early, and we saw that on Sunday. So that is definitely my wow.
Yeah, and the wow also, we didn't let the opposing team score in their opening possession, which is the first time we've done that this season. So let's do a good job and keep that going. Overall, my wow is just great moments from Gibson, Golden, McKissick, and of course, McLaurin. He had 68 yards by the second quarter, and although he only caught 4 passes, he totaled 83 yards by the end of the game. McLaurin is the second in the NFL in yards gained after a catch. He's only trailing the Saints running back Alvin Kamara, so that's a big deal. As I mentioned also earlier, we outplayed Cleveland in both the first and the third quarters and even entered the final 15 minutes with a 3-point lead. However, we got a good old gut punch in the fourth quarter, putting the game out of reach. And especially since we had no time on the clock left and no timeouts called, Jade.
And she mentions it again, no timeouts called.
Touche. I hope he calls so many timeouts this weekend. All right, let's switch gears to the Battle of the Beltway. We need to discuss what we can do against the Baltimore Ravens. I think Dwayne's got to shake this loss off pretty quick and be the NFL quarterback and leader this team needs him to be. You cannot stare at your receivers. I can appreciate him taking risks and trying to make those flashy plays, but at some point you just got to play smart. You got to be patient, and you got to read what the defenders are giving him. Speaking of defenders, with Ioannidis out, who do we need to step up?
So, yeah, it hurts losing him. I would say now Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Tim Settle will be a 3-man rotation. We've also brought back Nate Orchard. So I think we need to keep the pressure to make him pass, make the Ravens pass, build a lead early on, since the Ravens did show with the Chiefs they struggle to come back. And if we're down, I might recommend to call some timeouts in the fourth quarter in case we need the time on the clock.
She might recommend that they call a timeout.
Okay, how many times do you think we can get to Lamar?
Oh, that's a good question. So we definitely have to put pressure on Lamar. He's fast. He received the NFL MVP last year. He's actually only the second player to receive a unanimous selection for the award. So the pressure is on for our defense. Our defense, though, is strong. Our defense is fast. So I see us being able to get him at least 3 times this game. So that is my prediction, and we will see if I'm right. And if I am, then I'm going to get another bottle of wine.
From fresh fine wine. The best. Also, I'm just going to note, watching the Monday Night Football game is Lamar Jackson definitely kind of wears his emotions on his sleeve. You can definitely read his body language and tell when the game is weighing heavily on him and when he's getting down. And when he's excited, he celebrates. So I think for us, an edge that we could have is really trying to capitalize on when we're reading his body language and when the emotions are getting to him, capitalizing on that.
Yeah, capitalize on, don't let him run, make him throw, since his accuracy is his weakness.
And another positive is, like we mentioned, the Ravens did have Monday Night Football, so they're coming, they didn't have as much time to rest. So I definitely think we got to start with that sense of urgency to get ahead early. We shall see. It'll be interesting next week to talk about, hopefully, a victory. As we mentioned here on the WOW, we like to give access to our Washington football team. If you have a question for a Washington football player, make sure you're following WOW Washington on social to find out how you can ask a player a question and have it answered right here on the WOW. This week, WOW member Lisa had a question for Jade McKissick. Check it out.
Hi, JD. My name is Lisa. I was wondering if you or anyone in your family has been affected by cancer, and if so, if you could share the story with WOW. Thank you.
Yeah, my friend Darius Lockhart, his mama, Miss Sherry, she was like a mom to me, and she passed away from breast cancer. So every time that season come around, I make sure I remember her.
Stay connected with the Washington football team. Follow at Washington NFL on Instagram and Twitter for team news, updates, and exclusive Washington football team content.
At RTS, game day strategy doesn't stop when the whistle blows. RTS delivers smarter, more responsible waste and recycling services. As an official partner of the Washington football team, RTS is connecting the team and FedEx Field with sustainable solutions to care for the community and the environment. RTS, a better waste company. Find out more at rts.com.
Welcome to Wow Home Field, brought to you by Fresh Fine Wine. We are thrilled to be sharing a glass today with Romonda Jordan, who is the wife of Washington football's running back coach, Randy Jordan. Romonda is one of the founders of Off the Field's Players' Wives Association, the official wives organization of the NFL and the NFLPA. Off the Field is a nonprofit that has raised money for families and children in need to the tune of $850,000 since the inception. You go, girl. She is also very involved in the Washington Football Charitable Foundation, American Association of Black Cardiologists, breast cancer awareness, and most recently has raised funds for the St. Jude Walk to end childhood cancer. I think it's clear you are a champion for many causes, and for that, I want to personally thank you and welcome you to the WOW.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'm glad to be here with you ladies this morning.
We're going to start it out with just trying to get to know a little bit more about who Romonda is. Were you always into giving back to your community from an early age?
Actually, yes, I feel like that's just a part of me. I grew up in California and North Carolina, and I don't know, it was just something, inbred, I would say, just from the family that I come from, always givers, always wanting to make the community and whatever's around us, try to, level up with that and bring people together. So definitely so.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you can definitely tell, right? So when we were reading your bio, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not living right. I felt like, hey, I need to do more. So, I mean, gosh, we just really appreciate obviously everything that you have done and are doing. But let's take it back a little bit. How did you actually meet your husband?
Wow, that's good. Yeah, we have to go way back. So Randy and I, we attended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And so we met probably, I guess, like our second summer in 1990. And a little bit different from two sides of the pods. I'm very, just outgoing, reaching out, doing a lot of things on campus. And although he was, in football, he was a very low key football player. So it was interesting because in the beginning, people would say opposites definitely, attracted, but I was working at the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. So it was funny because whenever we started dating and then our executive director was like, you know who you're dating, that's Randy Jordan. I'm like, yeah, I know who it is. But it was funny because I kind of grew to know what his kind of legend was in North Carolina as a player. So, but coming both from, my background already loving sports, then it was kind of a natural progression for us because it, I love football, I love sports. And especially youth sports, which is why I was involved with the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. So, yeah.
I went to UNC Greensboro, so.
Yeah.
So what does a game day look like for your family? You have 3 kids. How involved are you in our Washington football game day with your husband?
Yeah, well, that is a very interesting question, especially with the pandemic being the way that it is, and we're not able to go to the football games. It is literally, there are so many things going on, a lot of people hurting, in our communities and in our world. And so I try not to think of it as the worst thing that has happened, but we love football games. We love game day. And so, really when you think about it, Randy and I have been married 26 years. We've been together 30 years. So a football on a Saturday or Sunday is, really is just a way of life. So on a normal game weekend, we would be, going over to the hotel for the weekend, and just, it's just a whole, game atmosphere, a lot of excitement and hype around that. And so that has really, challenged me to be able to figure out a way to create, just feel that same magic and connectiveness, to the game. So it definitely, we usually either go over on the bus or go over the night before. Love to see fans and getting involved with the, Washington football fans. So, this year it looks a little bit different, but I still have to get together and put together my team matchups. I typically, let me grab these. So each week I'm setting up who the next opponent is. And so I've been in here by myself with, sometimes, one, with the pandemic, I have one college graduate, one senior in college that's virtual, and one 8th grade middle school that everyone's at home doing things. And so on game day, sometimes people are busy. So I'm like, wow, this is really a challenge, but it's exciting, still. And so I have to create my own game day atmosphere. So
I want to get your take on this young team. I know we keep saying it's an exciting time. It's a new era. And obviously you all have been a part of this family and this organization for a little bit, but what are your thoughts on this young team and kind of the future ahead?
I think the future is, I think the future is bright. And I remember having a conversation before, probably maybe about in March, with someone, just saying, like, we had the tools and like the foundation of a young team. And so, especially even with the rookies that we came in last year, there's still that opportunity to mold and shape into something new. So, I think that's, the coming together, with a new staff, and of course, with Coach Rivera being at the head, then I think there's that opportunity still to mold and get people to kind of be in the boat, so to speak. And we've got, we've been excited for a lot of years about, our Alabama nation and all of our, first rounders. And so now I just think that each year you're going to create that gel and that camaraderie, and, and they have the skill, and you have the coaching staff. And so I just think, I know that, there have been a lot of changes, but, the way that I see it, sometimes change is necessary and change is good. And so really it's a fresh opportunity for everybody just to kind of mold this into what, I know that the Snyders and Coach Rivera and everybody in leadership wants it to be.
I have like a little inside scoop type question, because that's one thing we love to bring to our listeners and our viewers. Does Coach Jordan like bring his work home? Do you all talk shop with him? Like, I know you said Saturdays and Sundays with football are kind of a normal thing. Is it normal to just talk football as well?
We do. He knows, when to shut it down, but he also knows that, he also knows that, I enjoy, the game, and I enjoy the aspects of football. So it's really not, in imposition. But the funny thing is, like I mentioned before with the pandemic, there have been definitely struggles. But for me, one of the most interesting, aspects of it was, like literally, he's never been at home that long. Working from our basement, we set up his shop down in the basement. So it was cool to be able to have him here and pop in and do that. So, with the, the guys initially, by this time I may have already gone into the office, had the off season, gone down to training camp and had interaction with them. But I remember one of the first couple of virtual meetings they did, he was like, I want to bring you and the family in today so you can meet the guys. And so, although we haven't had, a lot of one-on-one, with them, we had an opportunity to kind of talk to them over Zoom and meet them in that way. And so, he does sometimes, one of our rituals on a Sunday, Typically we would go home and talk about the game together because we're riding home from the game together. But old habits die hard. So, he comes, every game seems like a road game because he's coming home after the game. And we just kind of talk about, first of all, how his backs did, and then just what I felt like overall as a team. So it's, it's a fun thing. I mean, for me, because it comes naturally and personal to want to know. So it's not, it's not a burden. I appreciate being able to talk to him about the game.
That's awesome. I mean, get the family that you guys, have, and 26 years together, and sharing in his passion and you fulfilling your passion, brings me to this off the field Players Wives Association. Can you talk about maybe one or two of the families that you've helped that stick out in your memory or being most proud of?
Wow. There's so many, and more so than than just a particular family, but just, organizations, over the years. I really feel like, the way that we go about trying to execute our mission is, there are women and children and families, are our focus. So that touches a wide variety, but I'll tell you, working with St. Jude's for so many years, really made a big impression, on me, and especially because of the aspects of with the cancer, because I've had that in family and had to go through that. So I know what that journey looks like. And so to be so deeply involved with St. Jude's and their mission, and knowing that they're helping families, and that they're taking away that large aspect, which is the financial burden, which can detract, from you being on track with your health. I would say that was one of my, one that's near and dear to me, because we really dug in, not just at a Super Bowl fashion show to raise funds for that, but ongoing events, and, like someone mentioned, doing the walks in all the different cities. And so, and then most recently, we, over at the Salamander, probably a couple of years ago, we did the wine soiree, and a couple of my board members came down for that. So they're definitely one. If I go back in thinking way back with Habitat for Humanity, because when people, whether or not they've gone through something like Hurricane Katrina, or, just simply in need of shelter, and, and what we all deserve, a good home and a roof over our head, that has really made an impact, on me, because I feel like that's when our organization took a lot of steam, and that kind of parlayed us into founding the organization and becoming a 501, because there was so much need, and we were able to be boots on the ground in some of those cities, and just interacting with those families. And then even going back to Phoenix at the Super Bowl, being able to build a home with a family, and it was a single mother with 4 kids, and they were out there with us together. So, I could go on, but I mean, there, Miami Children, Phoenix Children's Hospital, definitely with 2 of our board members, having kids with sickle cell, that's definitely been, a huge reason for us to stay involved with the health of children. So.
And Romonda, you clearly do so much for the community and for everyone around you. I know, and especially during COVID, you have children at home during virtual school. You've talked about this season obviously is in play. How do you find time for yourself, and how do you find time to refuel your own tank? We always talk about you've got to take care of yourself in order to take care of others. Can you just share with our listeners, what is something that you do that helps you kind of give yourself the time that you need? Self-care
is so critical, because if you can't take care of you, if you're not at your best, then you really can't, whether or not it's organizations or your family or your community, you really don't have anything left in your tank to give. So, during this time, I've really been, it's kind of forced me to look, around home and enjoying things around home to do. So, definitely during, especially when we were in the first phases, doing taking time to do your own pedicures and manicures and creating a spa and, for yourself. But really just even for me, when I have, my alone time, just to, get in the word, I love photography and I love the outdoors. So, I mean, for me, even that self-care looks like me being able to do exactly what I want to do, which is, maybe go to a winery or go to, an outdoor, and being in nature and taking pictures. That's something that's relaxing to me. So, I mean, I think, self-care is important to everybody, and they just have to, it looks like something different for each person. But it's definitely, your mental health is so important. So I actually had the opportunity, and I think as we all have, to be creative and try to pivot in different ways during the pandemic for Off the Field. I was able to host 2 video Zoom chats with doctors, that were able to talk, to the ladies that came on the podcast about just some different things that they could do to get their mental health, put themselves first. You have to stop and, take time for yourself, get your quiet time, go for walks, do whatever you can during this time when there's, kind of an elevated sense of where stress and anxiety can really take over. You feel like you're juggling a lot of balls. You really just have to stop and, take that time for yourself.
Yeah, love that. I mean, self-care is so important. And I know you touched on it earlier with it being breast cancer awareness, also just being really proactive with your self-examinations and just how important that is, because that's part of obviously self-care. And you're just doing so much. And we just want to make sure that our listeners are able to find you, find information about Off the Field Players Wives Association. Where can people locate you and just get more information about all the wonderfulness that you are doing?
Oh, no, I appreciate that. But for, if I'm on Instagram, my personal Instagram is Carolina Girl 93. And also definitely with Off the Field, would love for the listeners to follow Off the Field PWA on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter. And, as we look to Tampa and getting ready for the next Super Bowl, we don't know what that looks like, just like anyone else. But we're still working, hard daily and meeting virtually to try to bring a great organization some visibility. We're in the process of choosing our nonprofit that will be benefiting during that time. And, if we're not able to be in Tampa in person, I'm sure that we'll find a way to still give back to that community. So would love to engage with listeners on any of those platforms. I just really appreciate you guys and giving me the time to talk to you today. Makes me feel like some type of football, have some connectedness.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, you're always a part of our family and always welcome here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Definitely.
Yeah. I am all of you. You're a remarkable person, and we appreciate all you're doing to give back to your community. And I want to say cheers to you, Fresh Fine Wine. You are definitely a wild woman. Thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. Cheers to you guys. I have mine.
Cheers. There you go.
A new decade demands a new kind of wine. As consumers continue to embrace healthier lifestyles with beverages that taste great and keep in line with their dietary preferences, and wine is no exception. Fresh Fine Wine thoughtfully crafts great tasting premium wines that are low calorie, low carb, low sugar, keto, vegan friendly, and gluten free. Fresh Vine Wines pairs perfectly with your active lifestyle without sacrificing on taste. Available in select stores in DC and Maryland.
This fall, if you're looking for adventure, find it in a new Honda, like the turbocharged Accord, the turbocharged all-wheel drive CRV, and the all-wheel drive HRV with great features like second row magic seats. It's time to explore and say hello to the open road. Don't miss your chance to get a great deal on your favorite Honda model. When it comes to the best value, Honda leaves the others in the dust. See your local Honda dealer and start your adventure today.
We are heading into WOW Overtime. We want to acknowledge that this Sunday's game against the Baltimore Ravens is our breast cancer awareness game. This game is something that I look forward to every year. My grandmother is a 2-time breast cancer survivor, so I am going to miss seeing everyone in the stands decked out in their pink in solidarity. One of my favorite moments of the cheerleader has definitely been being able to do the player tunnel and having breast cancer survivors right next to us, cheering on, celebrating their life and celebrating also the Washington football team. Steph, can you share with us how WOW is celebrating BCA and how our fans can get involved even though we're not going to be at the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to celebrate 22 years of Washington football and Tanya Snyder leading the charge for NFL for breast cancer awareness, we're holding a Share Your Story BCA sweepstakes. You can enter by sharing your story about breast cancer or telling us about someone else special in your life and their fight against breast cancer. And we'll pick 22 winners to commemorate 22 years, send you a home tailgating kit, which is going to be amazing with some fresh fine wine in it. We'll also have a virtual sip and paint on October 15th. That is going to be virtual. We'll have guest speakers, our own Senior VP, Julie Donaldson, Donna Hopkins, who wrote the book, Getting to the Other Side of Victory. She is a 2-time cancer survivor. And then our last event is about healthy relationships and that village that surrounds you, maybe while you're battling cancer. And so we're having a family workout and activities, and that's October 24th. And you can find all of this on the WOW page of the website.
And just as a quick little reminder to everyone, just the importance of early detection and self-examinations. I know that we focus a lot for the month of October, but this is something that you literally can do every single day. It should be something that you remember every single month. My mother has stage 4 breast cancer, and so she is battling it, she's fighting it, and she's going to come out a winner. But early detection is just so, so important, so it doesn't get so far along. So just everyone, please remember that and remind your loved ones of that as well.
Yes, and I wanted to say too that these events, we are accepting and collecting donations for our charitable foundation for their Think Pink initiative so that we can help to continue to, fund the research and maybe awareness campaign. So again, these are to raise funds for the Think Pink initiative.
Absolutely, and we are going to continue to talk about breast cancer awareness throughout the rest of October here on the WOW. So make sure that you subscribe, review, download, like all of those great things to make sure that you're listening to all the great things that we have going on for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That'll do it for us. Make sure you check out the WOW on social media channels to stay up to date with our Washington football team events and more info on how you can ask a player a question. Thanks to our partner, Fresh Fine Wine. Till next time, see ya.
COVID changed everything. More demands on students, parents, educators. But there was a $4 billion education shortfall in Maryland even before COVID. We have a lot to do for our kids. Close the digital divide, provide opportunities to pursue vocational and technical education, and hire more qualified teachers. Question 2 will put millions into Maryland schools using revenue from sports betting. I know it won't solve every problem, but a yes vote will help our Maryland schools.
For more than 100 years, Chesapeake Employers Insurance has been helping Maryland businesses keep their workers safe. With competitive pricing and an AM Best A- financial strength rating, it's no surprise that Chesapeake Employers is Maryland's largest writer of workers' comp insurance.
At the end of every workday, someone's waiting for your safe return.
Connect with your agent or visit CEIWC.com.
Locally owned Novec is energizing the community in powerful ways. From sponsoring meals for first responders and medical professionals to donating generously to area food banks, Novec knows we're in this together. Novec and customers are funding crisis energy assistance by having their bills rounded up each month. Novec and employees are supporting local charities through Novec Helps. That's the power of working together. That's Novec.
And now, time for another Honda highlight. Jed was in mid-season form when his car went into an early retirement. Looking to upgrade his roster to all-wheel drive, Jed went down to his local Honda dealer. Jed scouted the CR-V, Pilot, Passport, and more. In the end, Jed saved his season by picking up a new versatile HRV with collapsible magic seats. Savvy stuff, Jed. Very savvy stuff.
Save your season with a great deal on an all-wheel drive Honda. See your local Honda dealer today.
COVID changed everything. More demands on students, parents, educators. But there was a $4 billion education shortfall in Maryland even before COVID. We have a lot to do for our kids. Close the digital divide, provide opportunities to pursue vocational and technical education, and hire more qualified teachers. Question 2 will put millions into Maryland schools using revenue from sports betting. I know it won't solve every problem, but a yes vote will help our Maryland schools.